Hey everyone, hopefully you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter in whichever fashion you're choosing to play it as. And today I wanted to go over the latest news that we have regarding Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, interestingly enough, as Capcom basically decided to confirm that they're going to start cutting down or removing access to certain parts of the DLC that became available for not just base Monster Hunter Rise, but Sunbreak as well. Essentially, they are ending support for certain parts of the game, especially downloadable content through collaborations, and it's starting to signal a pretty nasty kind of like tendency that these companies basically have when it comes to downloadable content, where if you didn't necessarily grab it or download it to your system or even purchase it in some cases, whenever it originally came out and then when it originally came live, many years later down the road, not only you lose access to it, but pretty much becomes non-existent in the game's files anymore after a while, because ultimately it gets removed, and it's something that players who might have actually found out through a trailer or news many years down the road would just simply not end up getting access to for various reasons. So today seems to be the start of this, at the very least, for Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak, and a lot of players are wondering just pretty much why that is to begin with. First and foremost, I want to really set the table so you guys clearly understand what is going on and why Capcom is choosing to do this now. Ultimately, the answer is money. The answer is always going to be money, but according to them, there's a very good reason as to why they're doing it. But of course, the only real losers here are the players themselves, who certainly wanted to have access to this. So this originally came out in their social media pages. They posted it both on the Japanese page, link in the description below, and their social media page in English, where they basically said, hello, or heads up hunters, following Monster Hunter Rise collaboration content will no longer be available for download after January 21st, 2024. If you do not already have it, please download this free content before then to keep using it as normal. You won't be able to re-download it. So essentially, do keep in mind that presumably when the next Nintendo Switch comes out or whatever, you'll most likely have to re-download this again, but it will not be accessible through, of course, the servers, because they're going to remove it. So just know that this is going to be stuck in your system if you already have it, and if you lose access or for whatever remove access to your account from said system, you'll just simply lose access to all the DLC at the end of the day, and you'll never be able to download it again. It isn't like one of those things where like companies usually remove things from being able to be purchased, but then you can still re-download it. They're just flat out saying you will not be able to re-download it from after it gets removed on the 21st, which is pretty dramatic to say the least. In their little image that they share here with us, they confirmed that on January 21st it will be going away. If you don't download this content before the date, you will not be able to receive it afterwards or obtain a request. And if you already downloaded this content, you will be able to keep using it as normal, but it will not be able to be re-downloaded again. I think that's the biggest sticking point here that I just find extremely fascinating, and also very daunting for many things that I want to speak after I go over the basic details. First and foremost, we're just talking about the Sonic collaboration DLC and the Universal Studios Japan collaboration DLC. I'm going to be trying to overlay some of the images there, because they're basically confirming that for the Sonic side of things, the event quest gotta hoard fast, and the Super Shady lookalike, where they give you the Sonic costume, canine tails, and Sonic figures. All of those are pretty much going away. I'm going to try to overlay the images for those armors and the Sonic wear as well. So basically, your Palico look like Sonic, that's going away. Your Palamute looking like Tails, that's going away. And your Hunter wearing those sporty outfits with the Sonic kind of trimmings on the side, that is going away. Another thing that's going away is the Universal Studios Japan collaboration. So this enforces the Azure Star Blade, Azure Era Y-Bow, and the Azure Era H armor set, which looked really cool. Included in all of that is the Azure Era Palico armor set and the Palico weapon, with the Azure Era Canine armor set and the Canine weapon. So pretty much that's being removed. Two other quick things are assistant Palicos as well. Both Meow Limit, a little purple cat, and Yazu, a more tamed assistant cat as well. They were part of these collaborations. One of them is the Sengun collaboration that is also being removed outright from the game starting on January 21st. Now, You may be asking yourself again, and I think I already answered this at the beginning of the video, why are they doing this? Well, the answer is money. Essentially, all of these companies have to pay rights whenever something goes live that they don't necessarily own but is being put into their game. So we know Monster Hunter has had plenty and plenty of collaborations, usually more with Capcom IPs more than third-party stuff. We've not seen the Nintendo stuff happening for quite a while. They do very limited stuff when it comes to third-party companies, and ultimately those contracts only run for about a year or two, and then they have to start paying rights. Remember that both Rise and Sunbreak launched on Nintendo Switch and PC originally, then they made their way onto Xbox and PlayStation and Windows, and that excurs basically from Capcom extra fees to be able to pay to be able to keep them live. Well, the game is no longer selling as much as it was maybe even a year ago, back when Sunbreak was still kind of kicking. So at the end of the day, they don't want to spend that extra money to pay for fees for DLC that is just limited, and kind of most players already got the best out of they could of it. And the only people who really are going to miss out on this are the ones who are going to buy Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak for $10-15 in the eShop or Steam store or PlayStation store or whatever, because they said, hey, I've heard a lot of good things about this game. It's an amazing game. Let me go ahead and buy it. And then when they started looking at videos like mine from back in the day, or other channels, or even news reports, there's all this wave of DLC. They try to look for the Sonic DLC or the USJ collaboration DLC, and it's completely gone, and they will never have access to it. So certainly those players will be the real losers on this. Anyone who tries to transfer, like I said earlier in this video, their data from one system to another, or if you buy a brand new system like I've done multiple times with the Nintendo Switch, you transfer over your data, you will not be able to re-download it again. That is what's really weird about all that. That even if you have it, you'll no longer be able to download it again, because they're just outright removing it from servers. And ultimately the answer is because they don't want to pay the fees, and the fees is just something that they cannot necessarily justify, so they will go away. Now, this is the interesting twist about this, specifically when it comes to the Sonic DLC. Remember that for the Sonic Frontiers game, there was plenty of Monster Hunter DLC heavily promoted around the launch of that game. And it just makes me wonder if Sega is going to pull the same move on Capcom, essentially removing that Monster Hunter armor for Sonic DLC from Frontiers, and basically just make it go away because it was just a timed event type situation, and they don't want to pay the fees, incurring basically Sega giving money to Capcom, which is the opposite of what's happening right now, where Capcom would have to give more money to Sega, and it doesn't necessarily seem like they're too willing to want to be able to engage upon all that. And I think ultimately that is the tier 1 conversation that we can be having regarding this DLC going away. But ultimately, the bigger discussion is all of this collaboration DLC, this is just the very first step of it, is most likely going to end up going away unless Capcom already owns the IP. So the Akuma layered armor, for example, that's always going to stay there because Capcom owns the IP for both Street Fighter and Monster Hunter. So that's never going to be in question. But other collaborations that are not necessarily first party, but they're more third party, those collaborations could potentially be going away. So we've seen plenty of them with Rise and Sunbreak, and potentially those are going to be going away in the future. What makes me more concerned about this is that we're not even 2 years removed from the launch of Sunbreak, and we're already seeing bits and pieces of it being cut off by Capcom, basically by just making things unavailable into the near future. And it does make me wonder just how far we are from like things like even the basic online system being flat out removed. Remember that we're not even 5 months removed from Nintendo revealing that all of their 3DS offerings, all of their online access for the Nintendo 3DS will be going away, which is going to be affecting, I made a separate video on this, this is going to be affecting all of the Monster Hunter games on the 3DS, Monster Hunter 3, Ultimate, 4, Ultimate, Generations, all those games, because they're going to lose access to the online multiplayer. You'll no longer be able to connect to the servers because the servers have been disconnected at that point in time starting next year, or some point in the summer or spring next year. And more importantly, any downloadable content. Remember, anything you need to download on the internet, you need to speak to your Palico, connect to the servers and download it. All that content is going away, just flat out being removed completely, because you'll no longer have access to the server, so you can't download it. So all of that stuff is going away. The access online for the 3DS games is going away. And that took about, what, 5-6 years for the 3DS service to be shut down after they were fully active with games coming out constantly, high-profile titles. And we're already seeing that even 2 years removed, Capcom is already slowly killing off Sunbreak with these type of things. How many years are we from Rise and Sunbreak no longer having access to online servers? Maybe because of Nintendo, maybe because Capcom doesn't want to pay. Whatever their situation is, I think this is a bigger discussion, not necessarily just about Capcom themselves or even Nintendo or even just the way things are handled with IP ownership or paying rights, but just the current status of online gaming as a whole, where things eventually will just go by the wayside and there's really nothing else anyone can do about it, because once the servers get removed, it is what it is. Now, of course, there's always going to be those discussions where players will bring servers back up. We just saw this with Monster Hunter 2, Monster Hunter 3, Monster Hunter Doze. We've seen a lot of Frontiers, I believe, recently got a lot of like online buzz, because a lot of players are kind of going back to all those games because players are running private servers. But remember, those are private servers. Not everyone has the ease of access to be able to access those, and they're not necessarily supported by Capcom in that regard. So let's just leave it at somewhere in between of like, not everyone is too comfortable with trying that out, and maybe it's not as easily accessible as it would be if you could just pop a disc or a cartridge into a system and be able to easily play it the normal way as we're all used to, or maybe just download it directly through your system. So there's still that wall to be climbed there, but it's still an opportunity for players to be able to have access to those servers and some of that downloadable content. But it gets really murky and gray in that area, and ultimately I'm not sure everyone is willing to take those jumps. What we are seeing here with Capcom as of right now, it just seems like they don't necessarily want to pay fees to Sega, and that's understandable, but you would imagine that these contracts would have been made for longer than a year or two, instead of now we're just seeing DLC outright being removed. And I expect this to just get bigger in the future as we make our way into more live service games, online focused games, where things just basically get removed one day to the next, and you don't necessarily know as to why it took place, because there's not a lot of context provided. Their sheet this time around on their page and their social media pages still tells you what's being removed and when, but they don't necessarily tell you as to why. It's up to sleuths and channels like this one to be able to kind of do a little bit of digging to be able to get to the true reason as to why they're removing it, and ultimately the answer is always gonna be money. So it's certainly sad to see, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me all that much, other than just how quickly we got to this point. But that's about all the information that we have for you guys today regarding the, I guess, early demise, or at the very least, the early steps of the demise of Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak on consoles and PC onto basically into the future. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.